Which fighter's stock went up, stayed the same, or dropped after 3 weeks in the UFC? We're going to talk about some of the fighters from every single card, UFC 324, UFC 325, and UFC Fight Night Bautista versus Oliveira. Let's start off with the first card of the year, UFC 324. And let's start off with the fighters that I think stock went up. Waldo Cortez Acosta. His stock definitely went up. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Ante Delija, Shamil Gaziev on short notice, and then he goes out there and beats Derek Lewis. I know Derek Lewis, he's not, he quit literally in that fight, but still, Waldo Cortez Acosta, el mío, el hueso, el maní, el dominicano. He is so much fun to watch, representing the Hispanics too, and he's in that top 7 of the heavyweight division as well. I don't know who they're going to match him up with. Could it be Kuniev, we're going to talk about later on in this video, Almeida, or Volkov? I don't know, but as long as he's fighting, as long as he's active, I'm watching, bro. I love Waldo Cortez Acosta, and his stock went up after UFC 324. Gene Silva, his stock definitely went up after UFC 324. He lost to Diego Lopez pretty bad, yes, but he goes out there, beats Arnold Allen in a 3-round fight, and I think he gets the loser between Murphy and Evloev, and if he wins, he gets the next title shot. He just has a big fan base, the fighting nerds, and he has a lot of aura, and I think the UFC is still looking for that champ, that young champ after Volkanovski retires or loses, which God knows when, because Volkanovski he's defeating Father Time right now. But Gene Silva, his stock definitely went up after UFC 324, and I cannot wait to see who he fights next. Whose stock stayed the same after UFC 324? Sean O'Malley. I think his stock stayed the same. He still can't grapple, and it just looks like he's not going to get back to the belt. He needed to really knock out Song Yadong or show that he has grappling, or he could out-grapple Song Yadong, and Song Yadong had him on his back, and he was out-grappling him in that second round. And I just think Sean O'Malley, he needs a couple more fights before he can even get to the belt. Yes, do I want to see the Jan rematch? But I just don't think he deserves a title shot right now. It's Merab versus Jan 3, and I don't know who you give Sean O'Malley. I think you could give him Sanhagen. I really do want to see that fight finally. I think that would be a great fight, but I think Sanhagen would just take Sean O'Malley to the ground and defeat him. Sean O'Malley just still hasn't shown that he has good grappling. So yeah, I think his stock still stayed the same though. Justin Gaethje, I think his stock stayed the same after UFC 324. He's the interim champ, and that's been the peak of his career. He's always had he's won the belt before, the interim belt before, but he just hasn't won the actual belt. But he did look good against Paddy Pimblett, and I picked him to beat Paddy Pimblett because I knew his striking was a lot better, and if he stuffed the takedowns, he was gonna win, and he did. I just still think everybody gets slimed out by Ilia Topuria in that division. Nobody has shown that they're elite, unless it's Arman. Arman's starting to become my favorite fighter. Obviously, he's hopping on streams. He's showing he has a personality. So I'm starting to like Arman. So I'm not gonna be crapping on Arman, but I still think Ilia Topuria slimes out everybody in this division though, especially Justin Gaethje, Paddy Pimblett, Max Holloway, yeah. But whose stock dropped after UFC 324? Paddy Pimblett. I gotta say Paddy Pimblett's stock dropped after UFC 324. He goes out there, and I'm here thinking, what's his game plan? I think he was gonna go out there and at least try and grapple with Gaethje, but Gaethje stuffed the takedowns, and then when Paddy's game plan was really to try and outstrike Gaethje on the feet, and that's one of the worst things you could do, and against Gaethje. And Paddy Pimblett does not have striking. Go look at his resume, especially in the UFC, dude. He's not knocking out guys like that, dude. And he does not have striking. The Jared Gordon fight showed that he does not have no striking whatsoever. And yeah, Justin Gaethje went out there. I know some of y'all gonna come at me with the eye pokes, oh, Justin Gaethje eye poked him. No. Justin Gaethje just likes to have his hand on his opponent's shoulder, and when he swings that overhand right, it's just tested, the distance, bro. Come on. It's Justin Gaethje, bro. It's the highlight, bro. And he went out there, dropped Paddy Pimblett a bunch of times, and stuffed the takedowns. I don't know what's next for Paddy, because I know he has he has way too much Dana White privilege because he should have not been in that interim title fight, like, at all. Should have been Armin. But I think Dan Hooker's next for Patty. I think they're going to use Dan Hooker to build Patty's name. We're going to talk about Dan Hooker in like a couple minutes, but Patty Pimblett, his stock definitely dropped after UFC 324. Song Yadong. I love Song Yadong. I love the Kung Fu Kid, but his stock dropped. He just can't beat the elite names of the bantamweight division. He just can't. And it was a close fight against Sean O'Malley. A lot of people called it robbery, but I just don't think he did enough, especially when you're up against a guy who has Dana White privilege. It's tough. It really is tough. And I don't know what's next for Song Yadong, honestly. Like, I really don't know. Like, do they give him Mario Bautista? Like, I don't know what's next for Song Yadong. But hopefully he collects a couple more wins and they give him another big name and he gets a crack at it and tries to get to the title shot. Because I like Song Yadong, but I think his stock definitely dropped a little after UFC 324. Arnold Allen. His stock definitely dropped, dude. I can't even remember a good win Arnold Allen has had. I think it was the Giga Chikadze fight. Like, he's just been collecting L's, and I really think it's time for him to move up a division. I think he's just, he can't just be losing in this, and especially in this featherweight division that is now loaded with prospects coming up, dude. Especially like Kevin Vallejos, who's fighting Josh Emmett soon. And if they want to use Arnold Allen as a stepping stone with, Vallejos, it's not going to look good for him. So I think Arnold Allen, his stock dropped. I think he needs to move up a weight class for sure, brother, because you're just going to keep losing. And I feel like he's like a little bit of an NPC. And I don't want to say that, but it's just getting to a point like that. But Arnold Allen, his stock dropped. And finally, the last fighter we're going to talk about from UFC 324, Umar Nurmagomedov. Like, what are you doing out here going to a decision against Deiveson Figueiredo, who is super washed right now, dude? Deiveson Figueiredo is so washed right now. It's insane. And the fact that Umar could not finish him, like, brother, what are we doing out here? His stock definitely dropped. He used to be an exciting fighter, bro. Like, you had an exciting fight against Sandhagen and Merab, and now you're just out here putting up stinky boo-boo fest. Like, what are we doing, bro? But I think Umar's stock dropped a little bit. I don't know who they're going to match Umar with next. Maybe Sean O'Malley. I don't know. But Umar, come on. Let's be a little bit more active on the feet, brother. Like, you used to be exciting. You used to get KOs, man. What happened to you? But let's talk about which fighter's stock went up after UFC 325. And we're going to talk about the champ, Alexander Volkanovski. Because, brother, he's beating Father Time, and he's beating the top guys of the division, bro. I know he just faced Diego Lopez back-to-back, but honestly, it's not his fault. The UFC just really wants a Mexican champ, somebody to, like, they've been wanting that Mexican champ. And, Diego Lopez is not even Mexican, but he reps Mexico. He trains in Mexico. I'm a huge Diego Lopez glazer. I even picked him twice to defeat Volk, the GOAT, and he couldn't do it. But, Volk is just so good, and he's changed his game plan now. He's becoming more technical on the feet, outside battle, using his jab a lot more, and he's just so good. He is the GOAT, man. You cannot even say it's Aldo anymore, bro. Like, Volk is that dude, and whoever the winner is between Murphy and Evloev, dude, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I would like it to be Evloev. Maybe that wrestling aspect is what, challenges Volk a little bit. But Volk is just, his stock went up, bro. It's always going to go up as long as he wins, bro. As long as Volk is out here defeating these guys and he has the belt, he's the GOAT of the featherweight division. Let's be honest. Another fighter whose stock went up after UFC 325. Benoit Saint Denis, dude. Like, Benoit Saint Denis, he's on a tear. I know he beat Pakolek and Dariush and now Hooker. Like, he's on a 4-5 win streak, I think. But Benoit Saint Denis is just, he keeps winning, dude. He keeps winning, and now he's like, what, in the top 10, top 7 of the lightweight division? Like, who is he gonna get next? I know they're not gonna throw Patty at this guy. Like, Patty will get smoked by Benoit Saint Denis. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, if it goes to the ground, Benoit Saint Denis is so much of a marauder, dude. Benoit Saint Denis, bro, his stock is going up after UFC 325, bro. The way he just went out there, come on, dude. He went out there and marauded Dan Hooker. He killed Dan Hooker, bro. And they could have stopped it a little bit early, but Benoit, he's like that, dude. Benoit's like that. Mauricio Huffy, yo, his stock went up, bro. The way he just landed that straight and had Faziev on wobbly legs, bro. Oh my God, dude. Mauricio Huffy, dude, his stock is gonna go up as long as he's not facing a grappler. The moment he faces a grappler, yeah, it's gonna be sketchy because his grappling is not that good. But if he somehow just keeps knocking guys out, his stock is gonna keep going up. He's part of the Fighting Nerds regime. I think he was training with Volkanovski for this camp. That's a little bit different. I know he's still part of the Fighting Nerds some way. I know Gene Silva doesn't claim him like that anymore, but Collier Brojalo does. Collier Brojalo, whatever you want to say it. Mauricio Huffy is that GOAT. He's that dude, man. I love seeing him knock out guys, and I think his stock definitely went up after UFC 325. Last guy we're gonna talk about, Quillian Sadkill, dude. Quillian Sadkill, yo. As long as he keeps collecting wins, his stock is going to go up. But I need him to fight somebody in the rankings, bro. Or somebody close to the rankings. Give him a little bit of a challenge. He's on a crazy win streak right now. I think his best win is definitely Nasser Hassarat. But give Quillian Sadkill somebody in the rankings or close to the rankings already. His stock is going up. And if he beats somebody close to the rankings, come on now. Sky's the limit for this kid, to be honest with you. Diego Lopez, I think his stock stayed the same after UFC 325. A lot of people were hating on Diego Lopez and saying that he sucked. But, dude, he's literally going up against the GOAT of the featherweight division. And the second fight was a lot closer than the first fight. I think the second fight, Diego Lopez got a couple rounds against Volkanovski. But, the judges were glazing Volkanovski. I think Diego Lopez should have won the second and third round. Maybe the third or fourth round. I don't even know, but he won 2 rounds. He dropped Volkanovski, and they didn't even call it as a knockdown, bro. But Diego Lopez's stock stayed the same because he's only lost to the GOAT and Evloev in the UFC. He's beaten literally everyone else. And when nobody wanted to fight Gene Silva, he was the only one that did, and he knocked him out. So you cannot say that Diego Lopez's stock is going down or he sucks. I think it just stayed the same. I don't know what's next for him, though. Maybe a rematch with Evloev if he loses against Murphy. Maybe Murphy. I don't know, but Diego Lopez, he's fun to watch. I'm a huge fan of him. A big glazer. Yeah, his stock stayed the same. Whose stock went down after UFC 325? Dan Hooker. My gosh. I don't want to say he's washed, but brother, it's not looking too good for Dan Hooker. And he keeps collecting L's. And I think if the UFC matches him up with Paddy Pimblett, my lord, I hope Paddy Pimblett keeps it on the feet and Dan Hooker has a chance of knocking him out to collect a win. Because if not, I think Dan Hooker should either consider retirement or moving up a division because he's just getting smoked right now. And it's just not fun to watch. I really like Dan Hooker. Like, bro, we know he's not going to be a champ anytime soon. Why don't you give him a fight that is convenient to him, a striker or something? You just keep giving him grapplers and guys that are just going to kill him on the ground, like Armin and BSD. Come on, let's help Dan Hooker out a little bit, bro. Let's help Dan Hooker out. But he should either move up a weight class, consider retirement, or at least fight a striker in that division. But we'll see what the UFC does with Dan Hooker. Faziev, this is the last guy we're going to talk about for UFC 325. His stock definitely went down, dude. That's another guy that I think should either move up a weight class for sure or consider retirement. Faziev, if you look at his record, he doesn't really have good wins like that. He has good knockouts, but he goes up against the big names, and he went up against Gaethje twice, and he's lost to Gaethje twice, and now he's lost to Mauricio Huffy, an up-and-comer. It's not looking good for Faziev, dude, and I think he should either move up a weight class or not move up a weight class, move down a weight class. I think he's better at featherweight, and I think he has a big name, and I think he would do better at featherweight. I think he would do better at featherweight, but I just feel bad for Fiziev, bro. I really do. Like, I don't know what else to say to Fiziev. You either move down a weight class or retire, brother. But I cannot see you be losing out here, bro. You did have that good win against Inacio Bahamundes, but it's not looking good anymore for you, man. It's not looking good for you. And I need you to win. I need you to start winning. If not, I'm going to lose my insanity. Because I really like Fiziev, bro. He's fun to watch, bro. But he got to move down a weight class. His stock definitely dropped, though, after UFC 25. His stock definitely went down. But let's talk about UFC Fight Night. Bautista versus Oliveira. Whose stock went up? Mario Bautista. His stock went up, bro. He went out there and he looked super good against Vinicius Oliveira. We're going to talk about Vinicius Oliveira, though. That boy, doo-doo. He caca. But Mario Bautista, bro, he is so clean with it, bro, on the ground, bro. He had the crucifix, switched it to the Kimura. Then he got the back. Then he got the rear naked choke. It looked so clean, bro. Mario Bautista he's good. He's good. He's elite like that. We see it. It's just that, you know, we don't know what he's going to do against the big names, bro. You know, he lost to Umar Nurmagomedov. How good is Umar Nurmagomedov? But I want to see him against, you know, against Sanhagen. I don't know who they could give Mario Bautista to do, but he's going to win. He's going to win. He's going to find himself to, you know, he's going to he's built a fan base this last weekend. I'm not going to lie to you. He collected some fans back. I don't think the bounty is on his head anymore, but he's fun to watch. I like Mario Bautista. I always did. Like, Sean O'Malley has always said it. Like, he is the best fighter to come out of MMA Labs, bro. He really is, bro. When he was coming up in the UFC, Mario Bautista was kind of that dude for MMA Labs, bro. And he's showing it. He really is showing it. Another fighter who I think stock went up, dude. Come on, Kyogo Horiguchi. This guy is insane. He is quick on the feet. 35 for flyweight, and he went out there, broke his hand in the first round, and still put up a striking clinic against Albazi. Dude, Kyogo Horiguchi, he's literally like that top 5 of the flyweight division right now, and you kind of have to consider if you want to give him a title shot, dude. At 35, he doesn't have that much time left, and if Van wants to fight and defend his belt, even though it should be against Pantoja, but yeah, I don't know what the UFC is doing with the flyweight division right now, but if you want to go to Japan and build a nice little card for Van and Kyogo Horiguchi, that might be the move. But then again, you have Manel Kape, because Manel Kape fought in Ryzen. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do at flyweight right now, but I need to see a little bit of action in the flyweight division. There's just too many like good fights going on right now. In a couple weeks, we have Moreno versus Loner Kavanaugh, and Kavanaugh lost to Johnson, but he's coming in on short notice for Alsual Lambayev, who's hurt, to fight Moreno. What if Loner Kavanaugh just, come on, upsets Moreno? That'd be insane, bro. Like, flyweight division is super exciting. I need to see a little bit more fights in the flyweight division. But Kyogo Horiguchi, he's that dude. Kuniev, Rizvan Kuniev, Mr. Steroids. His stock kind of went up. In just like what, 3 fights in the UFC, this man has 2 wins. Lost to Curtis Blades, but I forgot who he beat, and then he beats Almeida, and now he's like in that top 7 of the heavyweight division. Like, heavyweight is pretty dog shit if you have Rizvan Kuniev like with just 3 fights in the UFC already in like the top 10 of the heavyweight division. But his stock kind of went up because Almeida's not really a fan favorite. Nobody likes to see Almeida, you know, hold their favorite fighter up against the cage, or just hold the heavyweight up in the cage and make it a boring fest. Funny enough, it was Kuniev doing it to him, and he was complaining to Murgliata. So yeah, there's, you know, karma's a bitch. But I think Rizvan Kuniev's stock went up a little bit, not so much, but it went up a little bit. Whose stock dropped after UFC Fight Night, Bautista versus Oliveira? The only guy I could really think about is Vinicius Oliveira, dude, because he looked so bad, bro. And I really think he has to consider moving up a weight class, bro. That weight cut is killing him. He literally had no cardio after that first round, and Mario Bautista just dog walked him in that second round, dude. And Vinicius Oliveira, I really wish I didn't pick him to win, but in that win against Kyler Phillips, he looked decent. Now looking back at it, they both were kind of gassed, and just you know, Vinicius Oliveira was just, you know, throwing the crazier punches, I guess. But his stock has definitely dropped. He got fraud checked nasty by Mario Bautista. But yeah, these are the fighters who I think, you know, stock went up, stayed the same, or dropped after 3 weeks in the UFC. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'm J-Neps MMA. Like and subscribe. I'm out.